What's good, gamers? Blood941 here with another opinion-style video. In this one, we're going to be going over something kind of interesting that I've been thinking about for a pretty long time, actually. Before we get started, if y'all could click the like button, hit the subscribe as well. I put out 2 videos a week, Tuesdays and Fridays at noon Eastern time. Just trying to get to the end of the year, keep to that schedule, and end it strong. So, yeah, thank you very much. So, I'm not the biggest fan of Aztecross's content. Nothing against the guy, every now and then I enjoy something he puts out, but I don't usually vibe with the overly edited clips lasting no longer than the AVD, just not really my thing. But I got baited by a thumbnail, and I ended up watching 2 videos of his while working on Monday. Destiny 3 my version, and Destiny 2 Community We Need to Talk. He started talking about his ideas for a game past Destiny 2. Some of it might not have been 100% serious suggestions, but it got me thinking about something I've felt for a while, and I wanted to see if I could turn it into an exploration of a topic I feel interested enough in going through. Now, before we get too deep, I do want to say this disclaimer. I am not a game dev. I never claimed to be one. I am just an enthusiastic fan of games with a mild interest in the how and why of game design. Nothing I say here is gospel, and I would never pretend otherwise. Let's all be civil in the comments, because once this video is over, I would love to hear any and all of your thoughts on anything I mention. Not in an asking for engagement way. If you wanted to find my Twitter and tweet at me there, and we can go to DMs, and that way it doesn't grow anything at all, that'd be great too. I would genuinely love to hear feedback from you guys, whether or not you're still playing Destiny. I'll be reading all of it and responding to anything I feel like, as long as YouTube fucking shows me to comment anyway. Lately, the automod has been hiding stuff until a few days after the comment's been placed, and it's super fucking annoying. Anyway, just keep in mind that I am just a fan. So first things first, the overall point of the video. I am 100% serious when I say that all of Destiny's problems since inception get addressed by adding MMO features and switching to a subscription model for monetization. Now, it doesn't perfectly solve all of them, and I think it introduces other ones that Bungie really doesn't want to deal with. When you look at games in the same space that have longevity and continue to see growth year in and out, they're all more MMO than Destiny is. What do I mean by that? Well, first, along with a complete economic revamp, adding player trading would touch on the lack of a social incentive. It would create reasons for long-term players to log back in. It would help with the dreaded RNG problem, and it brings in extra depth through new mechanics or systems. When I say economic revamp, I think Cross hits it out of the park with this.
Make Glimmer a real currency, non-capped. I want to see people put up Necrochasm for 10 million Glimmer. I want to see people haggling.
So, one of benefit of trading is that this definitely addresses the RNG problem that I talked about in my crafting video. Say that, you know, like Angel with his 35 attempts at getting one of the raid exotics, right? While doing those attempts for an actual drop, we were slowly working up the Glimmer over time to go ahead and purchase it ourselves. Or we were doing other money-making methods in the meantime through various other activities that get introduced as a result of a complete MMO overhaul. Runescape is a game that I am stealing from, obviously, so including the music, get Autumn Voyage, idiot. Runescape's got a lot of different ways to make money. A lot of it is through the Grand Exchange, trading things that you harvested or created through harvesting or whatever. Could be the way to take things, I don't know. Now, it has to be paired with things to spend the Glimmer on, and drains the system to help combat inflation. Like, and I can't fucking believe I'm advocating for this, taxes on trades. I legitimately never thought I would advocate for taxes. Awesome. Inflation is a huge problem that games like RuneScape and World of Warcraft have as a result of how long they've been around for, and how many things generate gold from thin air, right? You kill a mob, it has a handful of gold on it when you loot it. That is gold that was not from another player. That is gold that has just been injected into the system through random gameplay, right? There are some larger gold injections, there are some smaller gold injections, but all in all, gold technically comes from nowhere, right? Both of those games have death costs as a way to remove a small amount of gold from the system for every character death, every player death. WoW does it through durability loss, and RuneScape just straight up has you pay death for your items back. I don't think a death cost system works in a game like Destiny due to the nature of how fast-paced this game is, and how often just straight up dying is the correct thing to do. Adding another annoyance and risking players being even more scared of harder content due to the in-game financial cost of failing does not help with the already reluctant player base Destiny currently has. I also do not want durability or degrading items in Destiny. I think they do not work in this system. I think that the way that we play the game is not conducive to a degradation system like RuneScape has. I think it would not work. I think it would be more negative than positive. But taxes on trades, I think, works perfectly. You put an exotic item up for like 10 million glimmer, and there's a 10 to 12.5% glimmer tax. The seller eats the cost, so they get like 9 mil, not the full 10. Subject to change based on how the economy itself is doing, how much glimmer is circulating. Now notice I said exotic item up for 10 million glimmer, right? Now, I don't think that this system works with the collections existing in the way that it does currently in Destiny 2. I think that you may have to revamp that. I don't have a perfect solution for it. I was thinking that maybe you could have it just be items that can't be randomly rolled, it's curated items only, but then I'm thinking, well, the curated items are sometimes really good, so how do you make it so the collections isn't just a replacement for the system in order to incentivize people in participating in the trading system? And I think you just have to make it so that the trading system is how you get the fully powered version, and a collections version is a very low powered version that'll help you. That will be functional in lower tier content, but if you want to go into the high end stuff, if you want to go into like raiding beyond baby's first raid tier shit, you have to use stuff that you either looted or traded. Collections is not going to cut it without severely being on the back foot anyway. Not a perfect system, I don't have a solution for it, but just an aspect I was thinking about while making the script. I also think that there's more to trade than just gear as a result of this system, like just more than just weapons and armor. You got shaders, you got ornaments, consumables, or maybe even components to certain crafting recipes, since I think an overhaul to the crafting system would also be in order. Shifting from making a perfect weapon to creating all kinds of different things. Consumables with various kinds of buffs, armor with stat distributions or passive effects that actually matter. Side note, with the new craftables, the game would get harder to compensate for an increase to the already overtuned arsenal as a result of the extra buffs and passive effects in place. The game has to keep up in order for this stuff to even matter, otherwise it all just gets ignored. Very, very important, but not the focus. Weapons from pieces of dismantled gear and components that you can trade for or drop from various activities. Keys that create extra loot drops from different activities as well. Maybe some stuff to put in your new player-owned housing unit, perhaps. I'm really good at segues. Now, say that you're a real hardcore player with literally every piece of content mastered and completed, all the gear drops you could ever care about, etc. You might be listening to what I'm suggesting here and thinking, well, sure, but what about when I'm done with all that and have so much money I've hit the literal glimmer overflow stack in the UI? Player-owned housing would be an extra glimmer sink and something that you could chase certain cosmetics for. Maybe you want to show off your arsenal in the entrance hall of your house in the last city, so you throw a weapon that you got a billion kills on into a display. Maybe you killed Oryx or any other raid boss so many times that they drop their head to put somewhere on the wall or something. Maybe there's an armor set you want to show off on a mannequin, right? And the housing itself could be anywhere, like how Elder Scrolls Online does it. You start off with a little one-bedroom New York apartment in the tower as an introduction when you first get there as part of the tutorial, but then as you explore, you come across these cool spots out in the wilds. A peaceful section of Savathûn's throne world with a pre-built little cottage in the swamp, maybe a fancy-ass mansion in the last city all decked out and ready to go, an apartment in Neomuna nearby Strider's Gate all synth-waved up. There's so many different locations and options in this universe. Some of them being blank plots with a baseline template to work with, but if you're more creative, you can build a completely custom building, within reason, obviously, build limits and shit, using resources you bought with Glimmer from specialty vendors, or manage to harvest from the various resource nodes out in different patrol zones, giving them a purpose again. Shit, bring back fishing for extra ways to obtain things and to create fish trophies to display like it's fucking Trove. It doesn't even have to be just solo player housing either. Maybe another big Glimmer sink would be a clan of at least 6, contributing to buying a charter and a plot of land that comes with it, to create a clan citadel with various utilities present and spots to build out a social space for the clan exclusively. With clans being something that actually has value again with the clan citadel or whatever, and not just being a list of 6 perks that you get access to by the end of the season, I think there would be an increase in people going out and recruiting for the clans at all, helping justify even more of the focus on the social system overhaul. Maybe there's a clan XP buff or resource gain buff that comes with getting newer players to join a clan and get introduced. Maybe if they're in their first couple of levels or their first couple of guardian ranks, it makes your clan perform better and generates more revenue for the clan itself. I don't really know. There's a lot of potential here. Shit, even if it's not to a clan-sized degree, maybe you just hang out in the starting area for your faction of choice or whatever, and you talk to newer players, and there's an incentive to teach them the game, right? Bungie's got a big problem with newer players coming in, getting overwhelmed by the systems and bouncing, right? I think if you had an incentive for a group of dedicated veterans to come through and show some new players the ropes, I think that onboarding experience gets drastically improved. Trading can also incentivize social interaction through haggling, right? Adding a trade chat or an all chat or whatever to certain locations would be a way to do that. Now, obviously, that comes to some setbacks. Open chat, trade chat means that people are going to be shitty in there, obviously, and you really need a really good automa to fix some of the bullshit, but I think the positives outweigh the potential negatives with that system. You want people to stick around in your world, they need to feel like they want to live in the world, right? I want to live in the world, but I want to live in the world for the universe, not for the people in the universe, you know what I mean? Adding friends that you experience a world with specifically, right? Like, say you log, like, I don't know, I play Runescape, and when I log in, there's people that I only have as friends from Runescape, and that's, we talk about the game, we hang out in the game. Adding all of these extra social incentives just creates more of a reason to escape from the real world and hang out in the virtual reality. There's some loser incel nerd shit there potentially, sure, but I don't fucking care. You see stories all the time of people who met in MMOs and end up getting married. That's fucking sick. That's so cool. Destiny's got some of that, sure, but the systems in place never were really conducive to that. You have to go through third-party sources to get to that social aspect half the time, because the social systems in place aren't really fleshed out. I think that expanding upon those systems that we have already, along with an overhaul to other ones, would really, really help with that. Bringing it back around to the original point, I know people are scared of monetization, and I get that, but I think housing units beyond the free one you're given at the start should be buyable content for silver as a shortcut, and be so absurdly expensive for glimmer purchases that it requires extreme luck and good sales over a week or two, or a month of grind time to afford. Which brings me to how Bungie would afford all the dev time and effort required for this massive overhaul. We have to shift from paid content packs every so often to a monthly subscription. Now, I know it's not exactly the most attractive solution to a lot of people, but sustainability is such a big problem in the game space that I don't see a world where Destiny survives long term without a constant revenue stream. I'm not a financial expert, I don't know what a good monthly price is, and I won't say it's a guaranteed fix, but if you look at games with the longevity that Destiny has been shooting for since day one, they've got a subscription model. Runescape has its membership, World of Warcraft is World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, ESO, fucking Wizard 101 has a subscription model, and it's still somehow around all these years later. It's not doing amazingly right now, but it's still alive, it hasn't been shut down yet. I even think it's better on the side of the player financially as well. You're less likely to feel like spending 10 or 15 bucks is a waste if you don't play, and you can also take periodic breaks if you know the next month is going to be too busy for you to invest the time you think is worth it. I do think this has to do away with the majority of the Eververse store, however, and that's something that people really like to see disappear. Now, sparrows and ships can stay in the way that ESO or WoW does, where there are extra mounts available if you want to pay more money. Maybe emotes can stay too, I don't really care. But shaders, ornaments, weapons, and armor, synthweaves, all of these need to become earnable from dedicated drop sources and or tradable in-game. Now, as far as why Bungie will never shift over this way, the problems this creates are things that no company really wants to deal with. Botting, illegal account selling, theft, exploits completely ruining the economy, and many other issues that I can't think of because I'm not informed on this topic well enough to come up with them, all are things that no dev team wants to deal with. Anything that begins to have real money involved, legally or not, risks the government getting involved and shitting on whatever you've got going on. And Bungie, or Sony, would have to shell out some serious cash to combat whatever it is that might pop up. It's not ideal, and something they probably already considered off the table back in D1's development. Another potential hurdle? Bungie's goodwill isn't in a great spot, and people buying into a massive overhaul requires a little bit of faith that I don't see them recovering anytime soon. Maybe by the time of a potential Destiny 3, but that's assuming it's in development, which it probably isn't since all of the layoffs and Sony's consolidation of Bungie's dev team. Doing all of this would require an absurd level of work and resources on Bungie or Sony's part, not to mention that for any of the new systems to matter, there needs to be no legacy anything to fall back on. Players cannot have a vault full of stuff to sell to break things wide open for the hardcores and create an even less approachable system for new players. This requires a clean slate wipe. You need to say goodbye to everything you currently have. If we just got these systems raw in Destiny 2 as is, I'd still have no reason to participate in trading. Neither would most players, and the barrier to entry for those just starting out would be too high to bother, so they'd get overwhelmed and move on. Plus, people wouldn't be happy with having to pay for shit they hadn't prior. Understandably so, right? I get that. We haven't paid for it before. Asking us to pay for it now would be absurd. So I don't see Bungie shifting over in that capacity. This has just been something fun for me to dig into and talk about. I saw this video and I just started typing, and this is what I wanted to do with the channel, right? I wanted to make videos about topics that I feel like I can talk about for a very long time. If there's anything, any feedback, any response to anything that I've said, please comment down below, put a timestamp for what you're talking about so I can look back on what I said and respond to it as well. I would love to hear any and all feedback from you guys down below in that comments section. I'll be down there feeding my unhealthy addiction to social media engagement, responding even though I probably shouldn't and should just shut the fuck up. I will be doing all of that stuff over the next couple of days. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.